everyone, today I am taking part in the Happily Married tag. This video was originally created by Gillian from Gillian at Home. She isn't married, but she was seeking the answers to the questions that she asked, and I am honored that you tagged me, Gillian, because I've only been married for about 2 years and I feel like I don't have a ton of advice to offer, but I love the questions. I think this is a great video, so if you haven't already subscribed to Gillian's channel, I will have it linked down below, so make sure to go share some love with her. I have all the questions on my phone and I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. So the first one is, how did you meet your husband and how old were you? Oh wait, that's not it. The first question is, did you date much before you met your husband? I felt like I was always with somebody ever since I was like 13. So I had 2 relationships before my husband that were pretty serious long-term relationships. I dated both of them for over 2 years, and then kind of like in the mix and in the beginning and the end of the relationships, I had, you know, certain guys that I talked to and I text. We would hang out every once in a while. I felt like they were more of like rebound people, but I was always connected to somebody, which is very strange. I don't suggest that, but I was always connected to somebody. Did online dating exist when you were dating? It definitely did. Would you have used it if it was? So I never considered online dating when I was dating, and I guess I kind of talked to some people through Facebook that I'd never really met in real life, so I guess that's kind of considered a form of online dating, but hey, never say never. I don't know if I would or wouldn't have. Where do you think are the best places to meet a great guy? This question is so funny to me because when I first hear that question, I think church, and I think a lot of people who, you know, I know in real life would say that too, but I dated 2 people like I had mentioned. The first one I met at church and it was a wonderful relationship. We were young, it was like the first real relationship, and looking back on it, I have no regrets. I think it was a great relationship. He was a great guy, he still is. And then the second relationship I also met at church, and he was awful. I could go on and on about how bad that relationship was, but it was a bad relationship, it was a bad breakup. It was just bad altogether. So tread lightly when you go to church. And then I guess other places would just be like wherever you're, you know, whatever you're into. So like if you're into going to football games, like go to football games and maybe put yourself out there and meet people who have similar interests to you. I guess that's what I would say. I don't know. I got lucky with mine. Let's see. What qualities would you tell single women to look for in a man? Now I know everyone's different and they have different things that they look for, but I think a major one obviously is trust. You have to be able to trust the person you're with. I also, for me, think that our religious beliefs had to match. I don't think I could date somebody who had a different religion than me. I just think it would be too hard, and our priorities would be too different. For me, it was also really important for me to be able to find somebody that I could feel 100% safe with. I struggle from anxiety, and I knew from the very first time I ever hung out with my husband that no matter what, I could count on him to take care of me, and that was really important to me. So definitely trust, your religious beliefs, security, and I mean there's so many, but I think those would probably be my top 3. What dating advice will you give your daughter? Oh my gosh, I've never thought about this before, and I don't know that I even want to. It's so scary. Gosh, I feel like my mom tried her best to give me dating advice and I didn't listen to any of it, and now looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, she was right. But I don't think my kids will even, I think they'll do the same thing. I think that you have to learn some of your mistakes for you to find better for yourself. So I don't know. It's too far in advance for me to think about. I can't even think about it. I actually asked David that question just to hear what he would say, and he said that she's never allowed to date, so we'll see. How did you meet your husband and how old were you? So I met my husband twice. Originally I met my husband when I was probably 6 years old, and I think he was like 7 or 8. And he did Boy Scouts with my brother. He was our neighbor. His parents still live in the street right behind my parents. When we kind of grew up together. And then we went to middle school, and it was just kind of like the end. I always thought he was like super weird and didn't really have anything to do with him. And so we kind of lost touch. He would stop by our house every once in a while and say hi to my dad and, you know, talk and whatever. But we were not friends at all. So then after high school and after my last pretty bad relationship, I'm sure some of you who've been following me for a really long time followed that whole drama fest, but after that I was like, I'm not gonna date anybody. I'm just gonna have a good time. I'm gonna be single for life. And one of my really good friends at the time had said, hey, I'm at this kid David's house. He lives right behind you. You should come over and watch a movie with us. And I'm like, no, that's weird. Like, no, I'm not coming over. And then I was actually interested in his best friend, and him and I kind of reconnected because we also grew up together. And I was just like, hey, I'll just come over and we'll all just hang out. And so I re-met him that way, and I think I was 18 when I met him again. Okay, what's the next question? Did you play hard to get? I don't think I played hard to get. I feel like I played hard to keep, because when my husband and I first kind of like met, we hung out constantly. We talked constantly. I feel like our whole like first 2 weeks of being together, all we did was make out, which was a little weird, but like we were super connected, and I knew that he was the one, and it scared the crap out of me because I was like, I just got out of a bad relationship. I don't want to settle down. I want to like go live my life. I'm moving to California. Like I had this huge life plan, and it didn't include getting married right now. So it scared the crap out of me, and I kept saying, I'm not ready to be your girlfriend. I want to be with you, but I'm just not ready for it. And finally, I was like, you know what? You're the one I'm gonna marry. I know that you're the one that I'm gonna marry, and I'm not gonna risk losing you over thinking that I want to go to California or do something different. So I eventually said, okay, you can call me your girlfriend now. And that's how that happened. Did you know he was the one right away, and did he know you were the one? So he says that he knew I was the one when he was like 9. I don't know how, I don't see it, but that's what he tells everybody. For me, I didn't know he was the one right away. It took me a little while. Like I had mentioned, I was interested in his best friend, and the first night we all hung out, I talked to his best friend for like 2 seconds. It was like, no, this is not gonna work. I'm not interested in him at all. And then that same night when we were all hanging out, some other guy that was there with that group of friends asked me for my number, and I never even thought about like dating David or talking to David. And then it just kind of happened. So, but once we really started talking and I was kind of like, okay, like this might be going somewhere, it was like an instant like, oh my gosh, he has every single one of the qualities that I have wanted in a man, and like, what is this? I cannot believe this. This is not happening. But it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was just like, oh my gosh, he's the one. What qualities did your husband love about you when you were first dating? He said, I actually have the text from him because I just texted him right before this video. He said, I love how you were so loving and generous and knew how to take care of me. Aw, that's so sweet. So that's what he said. He said last night that he loved my housewife skills, which was pretty funny. Did you have a timeline for marriage? So my parents were married young, and I just always thought that's what my life would be like. I just always thought I would get married young. And so when David and I started dating, I think like I said, I was 18. And I knew he was the one, like I said, it hit me that he was the one, and then I was like, okay, well, what's the point of waiting? We might as well just get married. And we were engaged 7 months after being, after dating. So I think it like happened really quickly, and I don't know that I was just like, I don't know, I guess there must have been, I don't know. I was just like, okay, you're the one, I'm the one, let's just do it. Let's just get engaged. Did you have to nudge your husband towards marriage? Looking back on it, I really don't think that I did. I think it was kind of a mutual agreement. But last night when I asked him, he said that I did. But I don't know. Obviously, I guess I did. I think he was ready, but he probably wasn't as ready as I was. How did your parents influence the kind of marriage you wanted? Like I said, my parents were both married young, so I figured, you know, I would always get married young. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, my dad worked, and they had a mutual agreement that that's what they wanted in their marriage, and so seeing that kind of shaped my mind to think, okay, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want to marry someone who wants to be the breadwinner. And my parents have been together this whole time, and I've never seen them fight or, you know, really get into any kind of arguments or anything, so I just kind of took all of that and kind of made a mold for what I thought that I wanted my marriage to look like. And I definitely took my dad's personality and how he treated my mom and really looked for his qualities in a husband, because their marriage worked out so well, and then there were so many things that because my dad did it, I knew I wanted it as well. So I think that their marriage influenced me a ton for sure. What did you love most about your wedding? Honestly, I loved my wedding as a whole. I thought it was perfect. It was the best day of my entire life, and I wish I could relive it over and over and over again. It was so much fun, but I think the thing that really made my wedding so great was my DJ. He was awesome. He had everybody on the dance floor. He stayed like an hour and a half later than he was supposed to, and he didn't charge us for the extra time he was there. He was just an awesome guy. I remember at one point during the wedding, I wanted to just kind of take a step back and just really just soak it all in. And I remember just standing there by myself and looking at the venue as a whole, and not one single person was sitting down. Every single person, young or old, didn't matter, was on the dance floor having a blast, and that just made me so happy. I wanted people to look back and think like, wow, that was such a great wedding. Obviously, I thought it was amazing, but for my friends to still be talking about it, like, the DJ just made that wedding. The next question, what elements of your wedding didn't matter as much as you thought they would? There's really nothing that didn't matter as much as I thought it would, because honestly, during the wedding planning stages, I was super stressed because I was trying to graduate college and find a place to live. David and I didn't know where we were going to live after we got married up until like 2 weeks before the wedding, and that was super stressful for me. I was like, why are we getting married? Like, we're getting married, we're going to move right back in with our parents. We have nowhere to live. What are we doing? So for me, I was super stressed about what was going to happen after the wedding and how our life was going to be after the wedding, that I didn't worry as much about the wedding planning. So there was nothing that didn't matter as much as I thought it would. There is something that matters to me more now than it did during the wedding planning, and that was my bridal party. If I could give anyone advice when it comes to planning your wedding, is wait until closer to your wedding to pick your bridal party. Your wedding and that stage of life is a huge life step, and when you're going through huge life changes, your friends sometimes change. I know that mine did, and some of the friends that I thought would be in my wedding weren't. I had picked my wedding party like the day after I got engaged, and I think 4 people who were supposed to be in my wedding, who said they were going to be in my wedding, weren't. 2 of them didn't even come to the wedding. 1 wasn't even invited. The second one just didn't show up. And I regret some of the ways that I handled the wedding party. And I would definitely wait to pick that until closer to the wedding. That's definitely one of my biggest regrets, is my wedding party, but hey, you live and you learn. Is the first year of marriage really the hardest? I've only been married for 2 years, not even 2 years. I'll be married 2 years, November 10th. And the first year of marriage was way harder than the second. The first year it was like, oh my gosh, is this year ever going to end? It drug on, and then this year has flown by. I think that the first year was the hardest for us just because David and I had never lived away from home. So we both moved out of our childhood homes. We moved in with like a person that we didn't know as well as we knew, our parents. And it was hard getting used to our, little quirks. I had to get used to David doing certain things, and he had to get used to me doing certain things. And I think we didn't compromise as much as we should have, just because we were both so passionate about certain things. So it took us a while to learn each other and to learn how to compromise and to kind of get into a flow. And honestly, as soon as the first year ended, it was like, thank you, Lord, the first year is over. Now we can move on and we can kind of start really, flowing well as a married couple. And it was hard, for sure. For the 2 years that I have to go off of, it was hard. Hands down, it was so hard. What advice do you give newlywed couples? So like I said, I've only been married 2 years, so I feel like I don't have a ton of advice to give, but the main thing I would say is just enjoy it. It's crazy how you're only dating for a certain amount of time, and then you're only engaged for a certain amount of time, and then you're only planning your wedding for a certain amount of time, and then you're married forever. So definitely enjoy those steps and those little life changes. because it really is exciting and you never get to do it again. So if you do it right, you never get to do it again. So enjoy it and soak it in and love being the bride and love being the center of attention, because like I said, if you do it right, you only get to do it once. So definitely enjoy it. The last question, if you're religious, how has your faith influenced your marriage? I think for David and I, we're both Christian. We grew up Christian. For David and I, we kind of, I think our faith influenced us as people, which then in turn influenced our marriage. So for me, I have always looked to the Proverbs 31 woman as the woman that I want to be more like. I used to wear a ring before I got married. I used to wear this big honkin' ring that said Proverbs 31 on it, and I always just tried to look to her for motivation. And whenever I'm like, no, I don't want to do the dishes, I just want to get in bed, I try and think about the Proverbs 31 woman and what she would do, and it really helps me to do what I am called to do as a wife, which when I do that, it really helps my husband to do what he is called to do as a husband. And it just makes our marriage flow so much better. The other thing that we have done is when we first started dating, we decided that we were going to make God and our relationship with Him the center of our marriage. And that has really helped us a million times, because whenever there's something that maybe we're not agreeing on, or maybe something that one of us is unsure about, we always come together and pray about it. You know, our housing situation, you guys have followed me for a long time. You know that we talked about moving to Georgia, we talked about renting again, we talked about all these different scenarios, and every single time something came up, we would always sit down and pray about it, and we would always say, like, God, whatever your plan is, then just let it be. If you want us to have this house, let it be. If you don't want us to have this house, then show us another way. And that has really helped us to just kind of keep it all together and not stress out, because stress can make your relationship crazy. And I think that has really helped us to kind of center ourselves and really kind of ground ourselves to not freak out about things like we used to. So yeah, that is it. That is all the questions. Thank you again, Gillian, for doing this tag. I think it is really fun. I'm going to tag the Not So Ordinary Wife, Amanda Wilkinson, 5 for 5 Meals, and The Working Wife. I hope that you guys will do this tag video. I will have all of their channel links down below if you guys would like to go check them out as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoy learning a little bit about me and my marriage. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!